Hey everybody, this is James Pelton. I hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. They call this hump day, right? But, one of my goals is, traditionally in business, people don't like their Mondays through Fridays. And they're like, oh, thank goodness it's Friday. Now we've got the weekend. One of my goals is I want to help people get to the place where you're not dreading Monday through Friday, but each day is just, hey, I'm excited to go out and do what I want to do today. And I think passive income and side hustles, those types of things are a great way to get to that point. So that's what we're talking about here today is as I look through the landscape of different ways to make money in 2023, this to me, just from talking to Kevin and I've talked to several others as well. This seems to be, in my opinion, one of the lowest risk, best opportunities if you're willing to put in a little bit of effort to make some money on the side. So that's what we're here to talk about today. We have Kevin here, Kevin was with us last time. Kevin, do you want to do a quick introduction, and then we'll kind of jump into it a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, James. So Kevin Vangritis, I've been, a business entrepreneur for years. I've worked for the world's largest medical device company for about 25 years. I've got a lot of business background, helping to run companies, acting as business advisor, CEO, CFO, COO of companies, just do a lot of different things, to try and help people with their businesses grow. And when I came across this opportunity through the ERC program, by working with the attorneys, the lead attorneys for the Campus June water contamination crisis here in North Carolina, I knew I was onto something, and I just felt something special that I could do. And then also in talking to James, felt like this is something we could share with so many people out there. So thanks, James, for having us back on, and look forward to talking to everybody again about it today.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get going, welcome. If you're watching, please hit the like button. We got a couple new members in my community. Steve, welcome. Thank you for joining. Winnell, thank you for joining as well. Again, my community is the reason that I keep doing videos. I've been was telling Kevin I've had some personal things working through in my real life, and it's my community that keeps me coming back, where it's like, man, I appreciate you guys and want to be here for you guys. So please hit like, and if you have questions as we're going, please feel free to ask. Kevin, we did a full video on what the ERC is and kind of focused more on how businesses could get involved. Could you give just a brief overview of what the ERC is, and then we'll talk about how non-business owners can potentially make money from it?
Sure. So the ERC is basically an extension of the CARES Act. 2020. It's a act that was given to help give relief to businesses that were affected negatively during the pandemic. And most companies know that for the PPP loans that they received. That's the buzzword that these business owners know. But the ERC was a tax credit that was also embedded into that same CARES Act, but it was only worth $5,000 to these businesses at the time. So for them, it didn't make sense for them to take advantage of it. There was a very high watermark on the amount of revenue they had to have as far as the decline. Things changed over the course of new administration came in, and they made a lot of sweeping changes, but these came in stages. So the rules for qualifying became very clouded. Most people didn't hear of all the updates. So here we are at this point in time in 2023, when about 25% of the businesses that can qualify for it have only filed to date. So it's a tremendous opportunity for us to get out there and spread the word, help them understand how they qualify, help them get a lot of money back from the government, and help make commissions for yourself as well.
Okay, very good. So there's a government program to give money to businesses because of the COVID relief stuff. And only 25% of businesses have taken advantage of that employee retention credit. So there's 75% of businesses that are still out there eligible to receive up to $26,000 per employee, and they just don't know about it. And they just haven't applied. And we were talking about how I've talked to several businesses, and they said, oh, surely our HR department's looking at that or something like that. And the reality is 75% of businesses are not taking advantage of it. It's just government money kind of sitting there ready to go. And those of you in the audience, this doesn't take any capital to get started. We're not talking about an investment today. This is I would call this more of a side hustle. It's something that you can put in a little bit of effort, and then you can receive some of the benefits. So Kevin, can you talk a little bit about the ERC referral program? That's what we're going to be talking about here today. And just talk a little bit maybe about your results, the results of people that you've seen around you. And then we'll talk a little bit about how people can get involved.
Sure. Yeah. So I got introduced this back in like the end of November, coming around the holiday time period. So when I first found out about it and learned that there was really an opportunity, it was one of those things I had to take time to evaluate it. By the time I got started, we were into the holidays. So let's call it, I've been working at this probably 70 days or so, 75 days. In that time period, I've been able to generate for myself over 200,000 in commission. And when I say over, the last time James and I spoke, I was like right at 200,000. I was just crossing that chasm, and I closed one deal the other week that is going to be worth anywhere, and we don't know yet because we haven't looked at the numbers, $25,000 to $85,000 in commission. And it's a little blueberry farmer up the street. I go there every year, frequently get blueberries and strawberries. And I just happened to be talking with one of the guys that works there and asked him if they did the ERC, So when I mentioned to him, he said, "No, I don't think we have. Why don't you come into our office, meet us at our office up, and mention the city." I drove up there, and I'm driving through acres and acres and, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres of strawberries. I finally get to their place and realize that, they had 337 employees. They're going to get over $5 million back. And what we're trying to sort through is they have these things called H-2A workers. So they might qualify too. So long story short is, I might be pushing 300,000, after we do this one particular deal. So my results have been the results of my efforts. I think everybody that puts the effort in is going to get a result. It's just a matter of how you want to go about it. I'm doing old fashioned. I'm going, knocking on people's doors that I know that are in business. I'm not using social media. I'm not doing any type of elaborate outreach program. People that are doing it through those outreach programs are making tremendous amounts. I mean, these people are pulling in hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. And so, really, it's the sky the limit. Whatever you want to do to put into this is what you're going to reap out of it as far as your rewards, as far as I say.
Okay, very cool. No, that's amazing. Amazing for you, amazing for your family. And again, just something that we want to open up that, like, would you say there's anything special about you in particular that was able to do that 200K, or do you feel like pretty much anyone could have done what you did to make that same amount?
Yeah, James, it's always a funny question because, I've always been successful. I told you I worked for the world's largest medical device for 25 years. I was always on the top. I was in sales for a number of those years, and I was always crushing it. I was always the leader. And, people always come up to me and say, "You're the luckiest thing. What's your secret?" And I'll say, "Look, I'll tell you my secret, but I guarantee you, that unless you apply it, you're not going to have the same results. But if you do, you will." And my secret is really simple. You have to go at it and work harder. You have to want it more and apply yourself more than everybody else out there. Mr. Wonderful, who we all know, had decided to join our team recently, Kevin O'Leary, because his own companies weren't informed about the ERC. They didn't know how to navigate it. So he's become a spokesperson. He did a post the other day and said the same thing. He said, the difference between regular people and rich people is rich people, they go and ask for what they want, right? So it's just a matter of going to these business owners and trying to help them. And in return, they're going to help you.
Yes. And we mentioned on the last video, it's a little bit different than traditional sales because instead of calling and saying, "Hey, please give me this money," you're saying, "Hey, please let me give you this money." And it's a little bit of an easier sell. From my experience, the hardest thing has been convincing people that it's not a scam.
Sure.
Because most people hear that it's not they hear this, "Oh, the government wants to give me money." Sure, I've heard that before. But no, it's legit here. Do you want to talk about kind of the experience someone should expect when they sign up to be an affiliate for this or a refer for this? They get signed up, and then what was kind of your process of getting started? Did you just start calling businesses? How did you get started?
Yeah, so all of us start out with the same playing field, right? We sign up as a referral partner. It's as simple as, through this process, what you would do is contact me. There'll be a link below to my email address at Bottom Line Savings. You would send me your particular information, basically your name, first, last, your email address that you want to register with, and your phone number. At that point, bottom line is going to send you an agreement. You'll review the agreement, you'll sign it and return it. You'll also get your own personal referral link. And James, I don't know if you'll be able to show it, but what that referral link gives you is the same for everybody. It is your own personal webpage that has your referral code embedded in it. And anytime someone uses that webpage to sign up to have a meeting from a business, it gets coded to you. What I do personally is when I talk to businesses, whether I'm in person or on the phone, I find out the best time to schedule them. We can schedule up to 7 days out. I book the call for them. And the reason I do that is that way I know that they're going to get busy doing whatever it is they do during their day in business. And it's going to take them a few days if they remember to do this. So we knock it out. And these guys at Bottom Line, they're fantastic. They have excellent customer support. When you click on that link, you can book up to 7 days out. They're there on East Coast time, generally from about 7:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night. So you can get an appointment just about any day. And I gamify the way I work with my clients, and I can explain all that at a later time if you'd like, but I have a whole protocol that works really well for me.
Okay. Yeah, no, I would love to hear that. But when someone signs up to be a refer, you'll get a link like this. This is mine. It's just a place for you to send businesses or give them kind of some more information. And then really it's up to you to decide how you want to get this word out to people. So I've talked to some people who they just say, hey, I'm going to call 10 businesses a day and just cold call them. I know some people, if you're an internet marketer, like I probably am not going to cold call 10 people, but I might, even make my own landing page or maybe use this one and maybe run some Facebook ads to it. Or, I made a video kind of pointing people to it. So the advantage of having a referral system is it's up to you to decide how you can best get the word out to other people. And so that's where kind of what it's open to. Question here, what's the catch? Like the government doesn't just give out free money. Is this a loan?
Yeah, so I'm happy to address that one. Great question. And we don't think of it as just free money, because what you want to think about, this is an overpayment that the government's looking at. They're basically allowing businesses to come back to them and say, you've paid your W-2 taxes for all these employees, and we're going to give you a rebate back on that money that was paid in, but you have to qualify and you have to ask for it. You have to do the filing correctly. So that's where Bottom Line comes in, because the filing for this process is not easy. There's a lot of qualifiers. There's a lot of things you have to know to do in the formulary to get the numbers right. If these companies took advantage of PPP loans, that it has to be backed out of the equation. And they have to know what quarters they qualify for, why they're qualifying for it. And all of it has to be documented appropriately. If you make any missteps, that's what puts you at risk. And then if you overstate what you ask from the government, they might ask for some of that back with interest. So you do want an expert to do it. It's not a loan. Once they get the money, that company is free to do it whatever they want. They can pay down debt, expand their business, give bonuses to their employees, or they could go on a vacation if they want to. It really doesn't matter. It's up to them, but it's not a loan and it's not free.
Yes, not free, not a loan. And then Quarter Mile says the feds are paying salesman commissions. So no, it's the referral commissions are paid out from whatever the business gets back. So if the business gets back from the government, they get $1 million, then a portion of that goes to the referral program itself. Am I understanding that correctly, Kevin?
Yeah. Do you want me to go in a little more depth on that, or?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so the way Bottom Line works is they don't typically do advertising. So you see companies that are out there starting to advertise for ERC. These companies are generally big conglomerates of banks or attorneys or CPA groups that are trying to get into this field. Bottom Line's not trying to get into the field. They've been doing this since 2009. This very same thing. One of their first customers was Rolex, and they hit the ground running, working on Fortune 500. But what they basically do is the money they would allocate for advertising, they're paying in the form of commission. So if you think about their model, it's very smart. They don't spend to build a sales force. They don't spend on advertising. They have all of us out there. Every time they do a transaction that we bring in, they pay us a 10% commission. If we want to go out and expand their sales force by introducing sub referrals, we're called referral partners, and you can bring on as many sub referral partners as you want. You get a 5% commission on them. It's an override. So that does two things. It scales their ability to bring in a sales force. spread the word, and then the sales force self-propagates additional salespeople. It's pretty ingenious. I love it.
Yeah, it's very cool. It reminds me of like an MLM structure a little bit, but the reason that MLM structures are structured that way is because it's a really good way to get the word out. So if there's a legit product behind what's going on, it's a really good way to get the word out. And so that's kind of what's going on here. Quarter Mile says, how does it become passive? So this is really where I would like you as an audience to kind of get your own entrepreneurial juices flowing, is what I like to say. It's really up to you how you want to get this out. So again, for me, I'm going to make YouTube videos. I might run some ads to a YouTube video, might make a landing page. It'll be very passive for me. You might go out and refer other people like Kevin was talking about. And maybe that's what you feel. Oh, I could probably get other people that want to call businesses. Or maybe you're just a hard worker. Maybe you have some free time and you just want to cold call, 25 businesses a day, or you want to go door to door, go downtown and just start visiting businesses, ask to speak to someone in HR. Kevin, do you have any tips for people of what you found? You kind of talked a little bit about what you found success in. I don't know if you've heard from others, different ideas for being successful at this.
Yeah, as far as finding leads, well, first and foremost, I usually work my network, right? I start with my own personal network and talk with all those people. And what I always find is people like to help people. So, but you have to ask. They're not going to read your mind. So it goes back to what I was mentioning before. I always work a little bit harder, try to work a little smarter. So I start with my own network, and I'm always asking, hey, who else do you know? Because people in business generally know other people in business. If you're a dentist, you belong to a dental association, a society, a state-run society, national societies. It's this way across all industries. These farmers I was telling you about, the one I met, I was going to a watermelon conference up in the Grove Park up in Asheville, and I just happened to be up there that weekend. So we stopped by. There was hundreds and hundreds of farmers there. So it's a great way to network. You can work with your local chamber of commerce. You can just be super creative how you do this. If you're working with churches, generally these churches network with each other because these churches now qualify. I use this one little hack where I just can go around town, and let's say I want to target, everyone on this street. I can be looking at restaurants, and I will always Google the restaurant name, the city, so I make sure I'm getting the right one, and I put the word owner in, and it'll pull up and it'll say, David Johnson's owns, David's Burger Shack. So I walk in and act like I know David. Hey, is David in today? And they'll say, oh yeah, hold on a second, let me get him for you. And David comes out, and then I start, my conversation with him. And I usually start by paying them a compliment. Gosh, David, you guys have one of the best burgers in town. We come here all the time, and I'm sure you guys were affected by the pandemic just like everybody else. And I just kind of break the ice with a nice compliment about something about their business, and they usually engage. So awesome. That's a little hack for you.
Yeah, there you go. And there's a lot of sales type hacks that I think would be applicable in this for sure. Brennan would like to know, does this work for schools? Is that school something that can take advantage of this?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and that's one of those areas that is a little tricky. So schools will qualify if they're like a charter school, but not all charter schools, because public schools won't qualify, because it all comes down to on where the money is coming from to pay those employees. If it is a government-sponsored school, public school, they won't. Anything outside the government, though, can. Charter schools are that gray area because they might get government funding enough that would not qualify them. But we always encourage them to get on a 15-minute phone call. Josh Fox, the CEO of the company, he takes just about every one of those calls for charter schools because he knows he wants to make sure he nails it and gets it right for them. But yeah, great question.
Okay, very cool. No Longer Void says, what if their burgers suck, though? So yeah, sales tip.
You might love the fries or the milkshakes. Yeah. Don't skip over the burger.
That's what I was going to say is you want to compliment, but you want to make sure it's true. You don't want to lie.
That's
so
right.
Find something. And if there's nothing you can find that you like, then maybe you're too picky. Surely everywhere has something that you like. Mario says, does this work for if you're just a one-man show? So you need to have 5 W-2 employees to get the ERC. But yeah, if you're just a one person and you want to go refer businesses, that's perfect. You can do as one person for sure.
Yeah.
Is this some sort of handout for pandemic losses? If yes, is this a short-term opportunity? Do you want to maybe talk about how long you think this will be going for?
Yeah, so James, you touched on only about 25% or so of the businesses have applied, right, to date. And the end date, there are two end dates to keep in mind. And there is two buckets of money. There's up to 26,000 available to these businesses. When you look at that 26, 5,000 of that was for the year 2020. That money is going to expire on April 15th, 2024.
This is per employee, correct?
That's per employee,
Okay.
correct. So the other 21,000 that's available per employee to these businesses is for the first 3 quarters of 2021, 7,000 for those 3 quarters. That part of the program is set to expire on April 15th, 2025. So you can see we have a couple years for the overwhelming majority of those funds. And one caveat is we're hearing guidance potentially from the IRS. They might be adding in a 4th quarter for 2021. If that they do, and it's another 7,000, even if that 5,000 expires, there's going to be 28,000 available to these businesses for that period of time. We don't know that that's going to happen, but it could.
Okay, very cool. So it is short term, but not that short term. I would say a bigger risk is that I've seen more ads for this pop up from different people in different places. So it's kind of like first come, first serve. There's 75% of businesses that haven't filed yet. But as people start tapping into that, you might start running into businesses where they say, oh, yeah, we heard about that from somewhere else and we already filed for that. So it's not something I would delay on if it's something that you're wanting to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't delay either. And that's a great point, James. And one caveat there that I think is really interesting is because of the heightened interest, you have to find these business owners. It's like this with sales in general. You find the person when they're at the right point, when they're ready to make a decision, right? And what I'm finding is I'm getting more and more business owners tell me, yeah, I've been hearing about it. I've been getting robocalls. I've been getting text messages. I'm seeing it on TV, but I surely wasn't going to pick up the phone or respond to one of those ads. You're standing in front of me. You're a real person. You live in my town. I trust you because it's, that people buy from those that they know and that they trust and like. And if you check those boxes and you're standing there in person rather than a robocall, because I've got the calls myself, I'm not going to call one of those things. I'm gonna do business with somebody standing in front of me that frequents my business,
right.
Or at least I know.
Yeah,
so that gives you the advantage.
Yeah, and sometimes the same with regular sales. It might take a couple calls. Like you might get in touch and tell them about it, and they might say, "Okay, well, let me think about it," and then you might need to follow back up with them, and you can say, "Hey, did you think about it? Yeah, I've heard about it from a few other places. Let's get going with it." So.
And I'm doing that right now. I've got a little over 70 businesses in the queue for myself, but I have a list of about close to 25 now. And it's constantly a rolling list that I'm seeing, like where I'm bringing people, signing them up. And I check back with them after 2 or 3 weeks and follow up and see where they're at. Some of them, hey, I need to check my CPA. Oh, I need to check and see how much PPP loans we have. Some other company that talked to me and they quoted a cheaper rate. Whatever the scenario is, I follow up with them. And of those follow-ups, now I'm starting to close some of those as well.
Gotcha. Very cool. Really, this could be, if somebody had the umption for it, this could be its own, and I'm sure people have done this. It's just its own business opportunity where you just set up a business, you set up a CRM, and you just, get going on leads. You spend full time just getting businesses. There's a lot of potential money to be made here.
Yeah, with Bottom Line every week, they have a weekly call on Wednesday, James. And what's interesting is there are a couple of groups of young individuals that have spun up these small companies. It's fascinating to hear their stories, but some of them are pulling in 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 a month doing this. But they have 4 to 8 people on their team, and they're just using all kinds of methods to generate leads. But they're really scaling up because the money's huge. I mean, Bottom Line. Last month, they paid out like $8.6 million in commissions to people just like us. The month before, they did about half that. They did about 4.3, 4.2. Every month, it just keeps scaling up. So the commissions are just getting bigger and bigger.
Very cool. How do we get the referral code for our own name? So if you would like to get signed up as a referrer, you're emailing Kevin. Is that the right call to action? Okay.
That's great. Yeah, we'll put that maybe in the description, but my email address is K and my last name, which is Vangritis. You got to make sure you spell it right. So KVANGRITIS at bottomlinesavings.com. Send me an email, and the pieces of information I need is your full first and last name, your email address, and phone number you want to register with the company. I'll make sure you get a contract sent out right away that you'll review, sign, review it, sign it, return it. And you'll also get your own referral code. You'll get a link to the resource center where you'll have all of the information to make you successful. And James, you're welcome to show them that information if you like. And then from there, you'll schedule a 30-minute call with one of our lead sales advisors. Generally, Michael Glick is his name. And from there, you're up and running. If you have any questions along the way, you can ping anybody at Bottom Line Savings in the Resource Center. There's a Contact Us button. You can ask them anything. These guys, as long as it's normal business hours, East Coast, say between 7:30 in the morning and 7 at night, they're going to respond generally in 20 minutes to an hour with most questions. They're really prompt.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, there's a lot of helpful stuff in the Resource Center. It gives you some ideas for different industries, and then ideas for different companies in those industries, and has some of them have testimonials for some companies in that industry. So yeah, you'll get a lot of helpful stuff to help you get going through that.
Yeah, James, and I'll pop it down in the for you to pull up if you like, so you can actually pull up the Resource Center at Bottom Line. So I just popped it in there. So this will be the Resource Center that you guys will see when you join Bottom Line. It'll have, like I said, all the IRS documents, all the one-pagers that you can use. When I'm talking with a company, what I do is I follow up. I usually send them 4 pieces of collateral, an overview of what the ERC program is from a government perspective, what it takes to qualify, an IRS document that clearly shows them the IRS is urging them to take advantage of it, and that they can qualify based on operational impacts or decline in revenue, not just a decline in revenue. So this right now, James is showing you, is the Resource Center you'll have access to. You'll see all these links will give you a lot of information to make you successful. When I started, I basically read through everything really quickly. And at the very top, there's weekly meetings that are scheduled with Josh Fox. So you can go back and watch the archives. And what I did is I started out, like I said, back in November. I watched probably about 10 of those, and I was able to pick up a lot of pearls just by hearing Q&As and Josh's weekly update on how the businesses were doing, and interviews that he was doing with either business owners or with people like us, the referral partners. Hey, James, I think you just went by. There was a link at the top. I think it even had a link to something about Shark Tank now. Keep going back up a little bit right there. Oh, yeah. Shark Tank pranks. That's a brand new. That must be a new one-pager. So Kevin O'Leary just came on board the other week, and decided that he needed the help with Bottom Line. He's out promoting it. I just heard Rohan from Shark Tank. He was just down at the corporate office the other day. I know Barbara Corkin's working with them now. We're getting a lot of publicity. Floyd Mayweather's working with us. Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins. There's just a plethora of people coming on board. We have about 400 former NFL players that were making a lot of money in their respective careers, but now that the careers are over, they're looking for ways to make money. This is what they're doing, and they're making more doing this than they were making in the NFL. So if that tells you what you can do, go out there and do it.
Yep, absolutely. And 2 things I wanted to specify too. First off, yeah, they have email templates for you. So, you can just start emailing people. Another thing, you might get overwhelmed. You might think, oh, IRS ERC guidelines. This is not stuff that you need to know.
No.
What you're trying to do is really just get people to business owners to schedule a call with the legal team who actually know what's going on. You don't have to know the details of does a school qualify and all that. You really don't have to know anything. You can just have them schedule a call. Worst case scenario, they talk for a few minutes and say, "Oh no, sorry, you don't qualify because of this or that." So don't worry about it on that end of things. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is a really good question because this is actually my situation. But it says, what if the company was sold, but the old owner was the owner during the period? Can they still receive it? Because I actually sold my business in September of 2020. And so I've actually been, wait, can I qualify for that even though I'm not the business owner now, but I was in 2020? Do you know any info on that?
Yeah, I do. And the stipulations, there's a bunch of areas to know, but you have to be the rightful business owner as of February 20th, 2020, right? In order to qualify, period. So if you weren't in business until after that, they have something called a recovery startup program. We don't apply for those at Bottom Line. But if you did own a business prior to February of 2020 and you sold it, right? But you sold it outright, you no longer own it. Like, for instance, I have a Jersey Mike's I just did this with, and I have another business that just contacted me yesterday, James. They're meeting tomorrow. They just sold their business this week. Those businesses will qualify and receive their ERC because they were the rightful owner paying the taxes at that time period. So for yours, it's a little different only because you sold it during the pandemic, during 2020. So you would only qualify for that first 5,000. I don't think Bottom Line is going to file for just that, but if you had owned it into 2021, they probably surely would.
Okay. Well, it still might be worth it for me to schedule a
Yeah,
call.
it doesn't hurt.
Do you want to refer me, or should I refer myself, or how's
I would
that
prefer you to refer you myself.
Okay.
Just to be legitimate.
Is this only available to U.S. citizens? So it's U.S. businesses only, but you could potentially do this from outside of the U.S., correct?
100%. Yeah, we have a lot of referral partners that do businesses and transactions with people in the U.S. They know business owners. They're rightfully can sign up and certainly can refer businesses as long as they're referring U.S. businesses. Yeah, you can be outside the U.S. and be a partner.
Okay, very good. So does anybody have any last minute questions before we wrap up? We have a couple more questions here, then we'll talk about calls to action, but want to get all your questions answered. That's the advantage of doing it live. Kevin's the man in the know, so go ahead and ask away.
Bring them on.
Scott would like to know, what stops businesses from just filing for themselves once you tell them about it?
Well, that's a good question, Scott. I actually had a friend. She owns a company. They're the biggest screen printer for Billabong, Quicksilver, O'Neill, so forth. And when I called her about this, she said, I appreciate you calling, Kevin, but I was so bored during the pandemic. I figured I would take time to figure out how to file this myself. So I asked her a couple of key questions, and I automatically knew that she overstated to the U.S. government what she was going to get. And so can a business do this? Can anybody do it? Sure. But I qualify that with, do they know exactly what they're doing? This is complex. I relate it back to what I did in the medical field. When you have a situation that needs severe, serious medical attention, you want somebody who's highly qualified. Do you want somebody that's going to do, you've got a spinal fracture. Do you want them to be someone that's done 10 surgeries, 100 surgeries, or someone that's done it 34,000 times? I want the guy that's done it 34,000 times because, he's probably seen every pitfall. Same thing like this. You can go with one of these startup companies, but they might not know exactly what they're doing, and you leave yourself vulnerable and either money on the table or you're setting yourself up for an overpayment.
Yep. So not much different than filing your taxes. So you can
That's
file
right.
your own taxes, but I would never try it personally, especially with my crypto stuff on there. But yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Then Mike, we kind of talked about this. Where does the commission come from? So the commission comes out of the credit that the business receives. So there's no payment made from the business out of their, own pockets. It's money that is paid to the business from the government, and a portion of that goes to the commission. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll just give you a real quick scenario. Let's just say, a business has 100 employees. We'll make the math real simple, and they're going to qualify to get 10,000 per employee back, not 26. They're just going to get 10,000. So that would mean the business is going to get $1 million grant back to the business. Bottom Line's fee, let's just say their fee was 15% on a transaction like that. That'd be $150,000 they would charge. So the business keeps $850,000. Bottom Line gets $150 for their filing fee. And then in return, you get a 10% commission. So your commission on that would be $15,000 for bringing in a 100 employee deal, which is very realistic. I mean, it could be a lot more than that.
Yeah. Nope. Very cool. Nope. That sounds good. So if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up there. Again, if you want to know, we did a full AMA talking about if you're a business looking to apply for this. So I'll put a link to that in the description as well. But if you're wanting to apply for your business, again, I'll leave my referral link there. And then if you're wanting to sign up as a referrer, you're going to be emailing Kevin. The email address is in the description, and I put a comment for it as well. And just email him and just say, hey, I saw your presentation about ERC. I want to become a referrer. He'll walk you through some stuff, and it's pretty painless process. We've already had how many people have we already had kind of go through that from our end?
We have 27. We've got another 6 or 7 that I'm waiting on the information. And, we're going to try and keep a cap on it because we have to keep it manageable. So we're probably going to max out at, maybe 50 more tops. So yeah, probably the next 50 or so people that come in from now, it will be the group that we work with because we want to make sure we have a tight group and we're able to manage everybody.
Yep. And we'll be doing some videos like this from time to time just to kind of discuss, hey, what's working for you? Maybe we'll even get on some other people from the team to, hey, what's been working for you? What's been working for you? Because Kevin is a great salesperson. What he does might not be what everyone does. Not everyone's a great salesperson. So, there's different ways. What is the saying? Different ways to skin a cat. Is that a thing? That sounds like might get me demonetized on YouTube or something saying that. But
and you know what? I'm open to learning too because like I said, these weekly calls are very eye-opening for me. When I hear some different outreaches, and I'm starting to experiment with some things. So, but I'm very curious to work with other people and hear their ideas because we all look at it from different lens, and there's many different things that are going to work. But the biggest thing to get out there and make it work is you got to get started, and you got to get started right away. So that's the biggest thing.
Very cool. Well, thank you, audience, for hopping on here today. I hope this has given you some ideas. Again, this is one, I think if you hustle, there's a lot of potential to make some life-changing money from this. If you're willing to, put in a little work, put in a little creativity. It's not as easy. Sometimes investments are easier where you can just, I pay $10K, I make this amount of money. This is a little bit, you have to put a little bit more thought into it than that, but a lot of potential here. And Kevin, thank you for coming on. Thank you for, again, bringing this to us and,
Sure.
presenting your expertise. Appreciate it very much. And I'm sure we'll be hearing from you again.
Yeah. Anytime, James. I always appreciate the opportunity. Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday. Nice seeing you all. Bye.